Welcome to The Diamond Mine with David Fuller, a podcast from the Rough Diamond Academy. Hello and welcome to The Diamond Mine. My name's David Fuller, for those of you that don't know me, and today I have a guest with me from my hometown of Melbourne, Carissa Smart. And Carissa's here to talk about a number of things, actually, her work as a designer and a graphic designer, and also we'll probably get into a little bit about her life as an Instagram influencer. So welcome, Carissa. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
So first thing I'm going to touch on, I'm in lockdown here in Melbourne. We're a few suburbs that are in lockdown. Are you in lockdown?
No.
So you get to go out for coffee.
But I'm not. I'm semi-lockdown like you. I'm treating it like as if it's semi-lockdown. With the capability of going out if I need to.
You have to be surrounded by people in lockdown, though. I know where you live.
I'm pretty much surrounded.
At least you can get out. And I'm sure there's many people listening to this around the world who. So where are we? I don't know. Early July, because I'm not sure when this will go out, but early July. So it's interesting. It's always kind of interesting to know where people are at in this sort of COVID world at the moment. So
completely different scenarios wherever you are.
So let's talk about COVID for a little bit and how it's impacted you. You run a graphic design business and have done for, I don't know how many years?
Going on 12 years, 13 years. Yeah.
How has this impacted your business?
Well, from a design perspective, I guess greatly. It's probably the first thing that businesses cut their costs and all their budgets. So I'm usually the first to go, whether there's COVID or no COVID. My Instagram work, pretty much instantly, budgets were cut. That's pretty much gone. Bar a few kind of that were willing to kind of just keep their budgets running as normal, but that's, I guess, pretty rare. Design work, I've got the odd client that, I work for government schools, so obviously they're as normal. So all that kind of work continued. So that was really good. So I have a buffer with those kind of jobs.
Handy.
Yeah. Up and down. I mean, some jobs were almost overnight, just see you later. So
we sort of work hand in hand, you and I. Yeah. I mean, because you do design, I build sites and do design stuff as well. So for Chris and I have probably worked together, I don't know, at least probably 7-8 years probably.
Yeah.
And we've been doing some work together. So, and Chris is actually responsible for the design of the Rough Diamond Academy logo, actually. Just remembered that. So he often does my logo design, etc. So I know exactly how you feel, because as a consultant in the web space, we tend to be pretty, well, certainly the first to go.
Yeah. Always.
when there's a downturn.
Yeah, no matter what.
The joys of running a small business. So do you work on your own?
Of course, yes.
It's just you?
Yep, just me.
I shouldn't say just you.
It's
not just about it.
20 of me.
Along with the design work, you do photography as well.
Mm-hmm. Little side thing. And I do lots of little things that I guess work together to create one little business.
Yeah, particularly for web though, you often do, I mean, I know you've done with the schools that I've worked with in conjunction with you do a lot of the photography for the sites as well, which handles. So hopefully that, I don't know, is still going as well.
Yeah, but obviously, at the moment there's no photography work because, there's no schools open. So, when they're all shut down, and I can social distance, but there's got to be kids there to photograph.
That's true. They're closed at the moment anyway. It's school holidays, I think, aren't they?
Yeah.
I always forget I've got grown children. I never know when schools are out.
That's right.
I usually only know when the traffic is lighter, but it's hard to tell at the moment anyway. So crazy. Let's talk a little bit about graphic design and your own work in that. So you do, even within that graphic design, you do a whole, I don't know, bunch of stuff. You've even got product that you design and sell on your site as well.
Yep. It's a bit of stationery on the side. So I do like an agenda and a notebook that I've just whipped up myself, and then some downloadable products as well. So I guess having that design background's allowed me to, yeah, create little side hustle on the, yeah, and
Side
then
hustle.
got to try it out.
We've all got them.
That's right. But yeah, the design work's just, it comes from all areas. So I do the school work and advertising, work with you, and then any other jobs that come up in the process.
I'm curious about your thoughts on logo design for one. I know a lot of people always want to get a logo. They get a logo, start a business, they want to get a logo, and they're like, I don't want to spend any money.
Yeah.
And so that they'll go out and try and get logos done wherever.
Mm.
What's your approach to building a brand sort of image for a client?
I think if someone comes to you with an idea for a business and their first point of call is they come to you and they say, I want a logo. I think you've got to really, as a designer, I guess, suss them out. How serious are you? You know, is this? And then I think in terms of budget as well, if they've got no budget, you can pretty much, you got to, I guess, learn. I've learned over the years, you got to walk away. You know, um, time is money, and but people just, I guess, assume that I just need a logo, whip it up, then I'm all set, ready to go.
It's
With,
5 minute job, right?
oh yeah, every time, and it shouldn't cost much.
No,
But really, I mean, I approach it as and try and, I guess, convince the client that your logo is your identity. This is going to be with you hopefully for many, many years to come. This is, of course, it can change and it can evolve over the years, but it's your first point of call when someone's going to recognize you. The color, are you going to be recognized for the style of it? Is it going on a product, or you know it's huge, like this is your identity. So the importance of it is huge, so you should be willing to, I know, depending what the business is, if it's a product, yeah, you've got a lot of overlays, and it's going to cost you a lot. But if you're willing to spend the money and design a really good logo, it's going to benefit you long term.
it's an interesting thought. So do you try to work with the client to think ahead and see if
Mm.
they might potentially have product down the track, or what their dreams are in a sense, so they think, where's this going to go in the long term, and where's
Yeah,
it
I mean, as a designer, that's so important, because I need to know what is it going on. Is it going on a website? Is it going on the product? Does it need to work on its own? With writing on billboards, on where is it going? Does it need, what kind of presence is it going to have on um, products? And just down the track, you can't just whip up something overnight and expect it just to work for the next 10 years.
It's a really interesting point, actually, when it comes to logo. Because I've certainly
Mm,
been, I don't run one now, but I ran a
mm,
design agency as well as a web agency for years. And um, one of the things we always took into account was the fact that a lot of people will get a logo done thinking that it's just going to go on their website. And then later on, and they might have got like a cheap logo done from
mm,
someone on Fiverr or whatever. And then they've come back and they're like, "Oh, I need to make this big to go on the side of a van,"
mm.
but the actual assets they've got from those designers are tiny. It's like like a small JPEG or
Yeah.
PNG, and they're now expecting to use that somewhere else.
Mm. I think the amount of times I've been approached not to design a logo but to fix a logo,
Yeah,
because
right. That's exactly where I was going.
well, they've had it designed 10 years ago, and of course things are different now. um, but I guess if you haven't got the right person on board, then they've designed it in Word or something, you're in trouble. So yeah, getting it designed properly is super important.
So I think that's one of those things, traps for young players, isn't it? Where, yeah, it might be cheap or it might be easy to do it yourself in Word, but at
Mm,
some point in time, if your business grows and expands, you're probably going to face with the fact that you're going to have to redesign and redo that so that it's scalable.
that's right. And then, you know, if they haven't thought about that, if they're going through change in a logo, you're almost starting again. You've got to have that brand recognition again. And, you know, it's a big job. Like even when a big brand now, like, changes their logo, you know, it's make or break, like, whether that brand's
Mm,
going to last. Like,
mm.
I don't know if you saw, what was the logo that's just been launched now? They've spent millions of dollars and it looks like the COVID logo.
Oh, no, I haven't seen that one. Whoops.
Oh, the Australian made logo, which
Oh,
was
really?
the triangle with the kangaroo.
Yeah.
Now they've changed it to this gold logo that looks like kind of like the coronavirus.
Oh, wow. I wonder which one came first, whether it was in process and they'd gone down that track.
Yeah, I don't think they meant it to be like that, but I mean, you know,
And that's another aspect of design, isn't it? That it's like what
and they've spent millions.
crazy, isn't it?
Yeah,
And you can spend millions on logos.
right.
I'm always stunned when I hear that, but there's
Yeah.
a lot of thought that goes into a logo. Um, I don't know, what's your favorite sort of, I mean, we're talking logos here, but
Mm.
do you see brand as bigger than logo?
Do I see it?
Or is it just logo to you?
I mean, I can look at a logo and be like, that's so ugly, like, you know, but you know, if it's aesthetically pleasing to me. But I mean, I guess when you think of clothing brands and that, I mean, they sell, it doesn't matter what the clothing is, as long as it's got a logo on it, you know,
So,
that's sold, you know, doesn't matter. Um, yeah, I guess
okay.
I'm pretty persuaded by a logo sometimes, you know.
That's that recognition, isn't it? I
Oh
guess.
yeah.
I mean, I tend to see brand as much bigger than just the logo. It's
Mm,
everything from the way you pick up a telephone and answer it through
yeah.
to the way you,
Mm,
you know, the imagery you use as well as your logo
yeah.
and all
Yeah.
combined. It's such an important thing. Once you get the brand recognition, there's
Mm,
that association with logo and it sticks from then on.
that's right. And that's what's so important.
I always wonder what came first, you know, the fries or the golden arches, you know.
Mm.
Pretty sure probably the fries, you know. But once you've associated the two,
Yeah, that's right.
there's no taking it apart. That's brand,
Hmm.
that recognition. And redesigning logos is quite
That's
uh,
always fun.
you know, I don't know. Do you start from scratch or do you try and is it more evolution or revolution?
Yeah, I guess it depends what the client wants, but I always, if they've got a bit of history, like I've gone through the process of a school that's been, you know, it's 30, 40 years old and they want to revamp. Um, and you don't want to dismiss, you know, their heritage and, you know, their tradition. Um, but I guess this school, they changed colours, they changed uniform, everything changed. So it was pretty open slather to
So
let's start again.
that's a
At the
revolution.
same time, I guess the overall goal of a school is education, and it's, you know, they might have their values and whatever, but yeah, the overall look is still going to be education, isn't it? So the the look changed completely, but ultimately, you know, it stayed the same. But they were willing to revamp, so they're always, that gives you a lot more freedom.
Do you start with like pencil and paper sketching or lots of little ideas? I've seen various ways people attack this stuff. So you know, lots of little sketches or ideas, and then work
Yeah.
them up. Or do you hit the computer straight away?
Um, I guess depending on the client, I might do some research about, you know, competitors, just so that I can get out of my head, I guess, what to avoid as
Right.
well. But also, you know, you're in competition. What's the common thread between all these brands, you know, that you've got to compete against? Then I might, you know, once I've got some research, then you've obviously got the client who's might have some ideas in mind and, you know, give you some um, icons that they like, or, you know, might have some words or whatever. Then I usually go away, maybe do a little bit of research, but I try not to be too influenced, I guess, by other brands. If there's a particular icon that the client wants, I might go in and do some Googling of different shapes or whatever that might be. But if it's a completely new shape that's kind of not out there, doesn't exist, I might go pen to paper. But and then maybe scan it, play around, and then it goes on the computer. But it all depends.
Well, fair enough. So whatever the job requires.
That's right. Yeah.
And you mentioned icons.
Mm.
So how would you see? So what's an icon compared to a logo?
Ooh. That's always a tough one, isn't it? No, because I always say to clients, do you want, they might give you the name of their brand. Do you want the logo to be the name, or do you want it to be separate to an icon? So an icon might be like a visual, like a
Yeah,
little
like if
fan or
you
a
look at the Rough Diamond
triangle.
Academy, which you
Yeah,
did, there's a diamond,
that's right.
which is a little bit not quite perfect because it's
Yeah,
rough. And that's the icon, and then it's got the name. And
yeah. And I think a lot of people get confused what they want, and that's why I always say you can have both, but they can both work separately. They don't
exactly.
have to, a good logo should be able to be recognized together and separate.
Yeah, I actually have a preference for that. I love to have both an icon and a word or a name or
Yep.
letters that can be separate, so
Yeah.
that
It
sometimes
makes designing so much easier down the track.
as a web designer, like
Mm.
someone who builds websites, and an icon is so handy. You can use it like as a favicon. You can use it in all sorts of different ways, and
Mm.
particularly say for social media, sometimes the icon works better than the
That's right.
full logo and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And what about different layouts of logos?
Mm.
Can there only be one?
No, options are always so much better. Having a portrait, landscape, work in black and white and in color, the more options you have that give the same effect, no matter what orientation they are, the easier it is, I guess, for people like you doing websites, and even for me when, say, I have to do a brochure or a business card, you can separate the logo to the icon, have the name separately, and it can create watermarks. You can,
Mm.
backgrounds and, take different sections out of that logo. It just gives you more options.
Yeah, look, I love that once again, as a developer of websites, for example, having a horizontal logo is brilliant for header area of a website, so it doesn't take up too much real estate. It's smaller,
Right.
whereas say, a square icon or an icon that can easily fit in a square shape or even a circle is great for social media generally. Whereas say banners on social media
Mm.
is probably again horizontal is really handy, or the combination just to
Yeah,
get. And I think a lot of people don't think about this. This is where a professional comes in handy, Carissa.
that's right.
I'm plugging you now. I will put you.
We're not silly. We know
Not silly.
what we're talking about.
Years of experience doing this stuff, and I guess
Yeah.
that's the difference between,
No, that's right.
um, you know,
That's hard initially, I guess, working with someone who's not visual, trying to embed that kind of those ideas. I guess it's very overwhelming, but having those options is going to make your life so much easier down the track when you try to implement. I mean, even if you got into clothing and you wanted the logo
yeah.
on your t-shirt, on stationery, and you've got to think of the bigger picture.
And we're talking about that scalability and flexibility too, because a designer also understands the difference between, say, RGB and CMYK.
Hmm.
We can never have CMYK, isn't it? There
Yeah.
you go. But a designer. And different media
Mm.
requires different color
Yes.
outputs. Just things to think about when you're designing logos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, even when you're getting a logo from a designer, you should be getting the whole pack. You shouldn't just be left with a little tiny little JPEG. You should have the EPS file so that you can scale it big. You can go whatever size.
Yeah.
It should be in RGB for web. It should be in CMYK for print. You've got to have the breakdown and a style guide of how you can use that logo when the designer's not there. You need to know how to use it.
So that's actually a really common thing with organisations, that they'll present a style guide to use, and it might be we want these like if I'm given a brief to build a website and a designer's involved, which I always love. It's here's the breakdown. This is how we want you to use the logo. This is what you need to put the space around it. This is
Yeah.
the color palette that you get to use. Here are the breakdowns of the hex
Mm.
values, or
Yeah.
RGBA values or whatever they're going to give me to work with. There'll be, here's the fonts that we want you to use, etc. So you get a really thought out brief about how that's going to look as a document.
And we hope that you use it.
Oh, yeah. But
That's the whole point of them.
we web guys do whatever we want, you know that.
Yeah.
So, that's what it's all about. No, but I love that, and it actually makes, it's one of those things as well. If you've got a well thought out brief, say for a website with all that stuff, it makes the process faster.
Oh yeah.
Faster means it's less expensive
Mm-hmm.
because it's all about time.
Yep.
So you can
But
save money at one end and lose money at the other end, right?
Right. How quickly a logo, as soon as you pass over the files, how quickly a logo can be destroyed as well is crazy. The moment it goes into Word and someone doesn't hold that shift key when they
When they're scaling it and they stretch it, exactly.
like
Please, I beg you, the entire world, never ever give someone your logo in a Word document. It's annoying. It's really, really annoying. But this is where, so you would actually give a pack to a client where you would get the full, EPS, PNG, JPEG, whatever you.
Yep.
You
I mean, you paid for it, it's yours. It's not mine.
in the difference, the negatives, so the black and white, the reverse options, etc.
Yep.
Very
So
good.
hopefully you don't come back and say, I've destroyed it.
Look, that's just a small primer on logos and some of the work you do. I know you do a lot more. You do a lot of brochure stuff. I actually want to move on to something else that I know you do, and I'm sure a lot of people would be interested in this because we live in a social media world. And you kind of got into that reasonably early. And I think technically you're probably what they call an influencer. Are you comfortable with that title?
I don't know. It makes me uncomfortable.
Too bad. I'm just going to call you one. It's just how it is.
I don't know how acceptable it is. I don't know. People kind of cringe at it.
Well,
if I were to say I'm an influencer, you get an role. Sorry?
What is an influencer?
I think anyone can influence. I mean, you could be someone with no followers and still be influential. I just don't put a number on it. I don't think it needs it.
Oh, that's awesome. So it's more about the impact you have on the numbers you've got rather than the numbers you have.
I think so. Even though we're probably, in, I guess, the Instagram world, it's all based on numbers. As much as people say it's not, it's still very much.
So from your point of view, the number matters in terms of whether people want to pay you to product. Yeah. And that's what you do, right? You get paid to use product in some of your posts.
Yeah. Very few posts, but
most of your posts you're not getting paid for. They're just what you love to do. Is that right?
Well, I kind of I guess it started as a hobby when Instagram started. So probably 6 years ago, maybe when I took it a little bit more seriously. And I guess influencers weren't really a thing. It was probably more in the blogger world, that kind of thing started. I guess those girls who were really big on blogs at that time transferred everything onto Instagram, and probably they're the ones with the millions of followers now. But I guess I just started directly on Instagram. So I just started putting up photos, a bit of travel. It was all a bit random. And then it kind of just evolved into, I guess my love for design kind of came through with packaging and, product design, that kind of thing. So that kind of grew into a bit more of that. And then it just grew. I don't know how, but.
And you got a paltry 95, 100,000 followers, something like that.
Yeah.
For those of us that are struggling to get to 1,000, that ain't too bad. And have you found that over the last few years with Instagram? Is your following still like what you did years ago? Does that still work today?
I'd like to say some of it works, but it's a whole new ball game. I mean, it's so saturated now. There's so many people using the platform that it's so competitive. I would say now, whenever I post, it doesn't reach the people that I maybe used to reach, and the way it gets out there, obviously the algorithm and all that, that's all very much different to what it used to be. I guess when it was chronological, it was, people who followed you just instantly saw it. Whereas now that algorithm's determined by what people are double tapping all the time. So
Yeah.
um,
So if they're
it
not
gets
liking what
really,
you're doing, they're not even seeing you down the
yeah.
track.
So I guess in terms of what I post years ago, it was just what I liked. Okay, this photo worked. I'll note that down. I'll might try it again. And they usually, the ones that took off would work, and you'd gain a few followers. Whereas now, if I were to take that same shot now, not the same effect.
Right.
So the strategy is very much different, if you want to call it a strategy. You just hit and miss.
Well, you focus very heavily on makeup.
Mm.
Is that fair to say? Makeup?
Yeah, beauty, makeup, bit
Makeup.
lifestyle, I
I
guess.
actually follow you, but I'm absolutely not interested in any of that stuff. But I follow you. You're a friend.
Thanks.
But I absolutely love the design elements of what you
Yeah.
do. Um, for people who haven't yet seen what you
Mm.
do, most people listening here, it's designed by Iconic. We'll put that in the show notes.
What do you do? Like, right here. Like,
That's right down below us. We'll put those links so you can have a look. Is there a term for the way you present?
I guess I would be heavily influenced by color. So I used to be very random and just post whatever. But I tended to get a little bit more traction, I guess, when things were a bit more, I guess, aesthetically pleasing. People were a bit more drawn to, say, an all pink theme or all, certain colors. So my feed, I guess, over the years is just I'll work in 9 squares. Every 9 squares, I change a color kind of thing. Sometimes it goes off the track, but majority of the time, I guess when you're looking at a feed overall, when someone's scrolling through, um, you would see just color. I guess a lot of my photos are quite detailed, but there's an overall theme of color.
Every 9 squares. Do
Mhm.
you think that matters as much these days? Do you think only when people go in and have a look at
Yeah,
your profile, I guess?
I guess the first 9 squares are the most important. It's what people are going to see when they first get onto your profile, and that's, I guess, the whole aim is just to get someone over on there in the first place. So either you get found just randomly by someone, and then that first point of call, like a website, I guess, is that first grab of that screen, and am I going to like this person, and is that going to make me follow them?
You mentioned that your photos are really quite detailed,
Mm.
and they're not just detailed; they're meticulously laid out. They are works of art.
No, thanks.
How long does it take you to put
Mm.
the average post together?
Uh, if it's a flat lay that's, I guess, color coordinated and that kind of thing, an hour from start to finish, probably. And then everything in between, I guess, because then you've got stories to put up, and I do a little, behind the scenes or a time lapse, or you've got to make it worth its while if you're going to spend that amount of time on it.
And now I'd say that's pretty quick. I would have thought longer, to be honest. You've probably gotten
It
very
used,
fast at it over the years.
yeah, a bit of practice.
And lighting, and I guess as a photographer as well, you've probably got a pretty good. Um,
I get the lighting thing a lot, but I don't use any.
you need to
Uh,
come and fix my lighting, Carissa, because I'm looking a little washed out here. Or maybe I don't know.
all right.
Got to
No,
sort my
well,
illumination out or something. I don't know. What is it?
I do, for my flat lays, I don't use any artificial lighting.
Okay.
So whenever someone asks me, natural light always. Even sometimes direct sunlight, depending on if I want the shadows or not. But trying to get as much light as possible, just natural.
Natural light. I don't have that option here, really. Unfortunately, there's
Sometimes I do,
nothing
sometimes
you can do with this anyway. It's probably better I turn out the lights. What do you reckon?
not.
So it's I don't. I'm sure we've had this conversation that today it's a little bit harder to get that traction. that you
Hmm.
once had. And I know you've moved more a lot towards stories as well. Has that been impactful?
Definitely. I think stories, I guess, they don't have to be as thought out as, what you would post on your feed, because hopefully what you post on your feed is going to stay there. The stories only last 24 hours, so um, I think they're almost more important now. People like to see behind the scenes, and just people like to have a sticky beak, I guess, into other people's lives. So, and I mean, it just depends how much you're willing to put out there too. Some people, I guess, get the following because they're happy to talk to a screen all day, like. But I mean, I don't show, I guess, a lot. I do a lot of reviews and that kind of thing, but I'll do the odd little talking thing, or a behind the scenes. If I do a time lapse, I tend to get the most views because people think it's really satisfying to watch.
How do you
Or
do time lapses? What do you use?
just on my phone,
Just your phone?
just
Just
use
the
a
time lapse
tripod. Yep. Sometimes uh, I'll I used to put it together from scratch, and it used to take me way too long. Now I tend to do an undoing of the flat lay and reverse it.
Oh, right. Okay. So do all your photography and then pull it apart.
Yes, which is a little less pressure.
Very clever.
Yeah,
Do you then flip that around so it looks like you're putting it together? Or
yeah.
do you think that's
Uh,
smart?
Sometimes I'm not that good. Yeah,
Very good. I hadn't noticed. Like I said, I probably
that's
don't
a
take that
secret.
much notice, but but that's fascinating. And do you actually, like, you do the time lapses and stuff? Do you talk on video, use video and
Occasionally,
chat and that sort of stuff as well?
occasionally. The more I put out there, I guess, the more traction you would get. I tend to see my views go up if I'm showing more, but it's just, I guess, how much you're willing to show as well, how comfortable you are.
Well, here's a question for you. You started doing it as a hobby. At some point in time, you also got, I don't know how big a percentage of what you do is paid for.
I would say maybe 5%.
So a relatively small number. So
Yeah.
it probably answers the question, would you do it if you didn't get paid for it?
I've
And
always said, if Instagram went tomorrow, would I start again? I probably wouldn't.
it probably wouldn't.
No.
It's a
I
lot of
might have my life back.
And what about other social media platforms? What about Facebook? What about Twitter? What about TikTok?
I'm
Uh,
terrible at all of them. I do have a TikTok account, but I've never posted.
okay. Well, I'm 2 posts ahead of you then.
That's right. I'm terrible at Facebook. Yeah, Twitter I've never really got on, but yeah, Instagram's, I guess, I put all my effort into that.
So would you be of the opinion that perhaps it's good to be focused on one and be really good at it, or as other people say, be on everything?
Mm, yeah, it's hard. It hit and miss, I guess. I mean, you've got to be there to give it a go. So I would try it all. And if one took off, you can focus a bit more. But I mean, I have my Instagram hooked up to a page on Facebook, and they instantly post out there. But
Yeah.
um, I think most people view my work on Instagram anyway.
And are you a big Instagram consumer yourself? Like, you're posting, but
Yeah, definitely. I'm on it all the time. I guess I see it as, I guess, for business. I look at it for inspiration for other work,
Mhm.
um, but I also see it as what are other people doing that I'm not doing that I could potentially be doing. So I mean, there's a lot of people out there using it for business as well. So I follow a lot of other brands and a lot of other influencers as well.
What would you say? Okay, I'm putting you on the spot here, but given that you are looking to see what other people are doing as well, what would you say would be some great tips for people who want to increase their Instagram following, or just their social media following in general? What are things that people could do that
Mhm.
could have an impact?
You got to post consistently. That's my main thing. I give myself either 1 or 2 days off a week, but I'm posting every day. Um, and also, you've got to dedicate an hour, whatever time you think is needed. But I reply to every message that I get, any DMs, but I also leave comments for other people as well. So like interacting with other people. I think you got to think of it that now that the algorithm plays such a huge role, what does the algorithm want me to do? So it needs me to like other like-minded businesses or profiles. And I've got to, I mean, I'm the consumer as well as people coming to me as a brand as well. So you've got to be seen to be interacting with one another as well.
There's a bit of a clue in the name, social
Mm,
media.
yeah,
It's that social element, I guess, and that's what's really come to the last few years.
yeah,
You get points for actually being social, if you
that's
like.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. What else?
Um, what else? I
Just
guess stories as well. You've got to be active on there as well. I
do
mean,
you, yeah, I was going to say you spend a lot of time making your stuff really beautiful because that's what it's about. But do you think that matters? Is that the most important thing, or
definitely not. I mean, there's people out there, I guess, influencers out there that just post because I guess they've either got a YouTube channel or whatever. So they've got kind of a presence. But they're just posting, it could be just a selfie or whatever, but this is what I'm doing today. And it's an unedited, just raw photo. And, that can just be as successful as one of my photos that I've spent hours on. Like,
there you go? I mean, I mentioned that because I don't want people to get hung up on thinking that every post they do requires hours of work. And
no. I mean, and it depends on the type of, I mean, a normal business, whether it be like a clothing label or whatever, it could be a repost of someone else wearing your clothes. It doesn't have to be, a heavily styled photo shoot, pristine photos every time, I think that's where a lot of brands go to, I guess, influencers to take content for them. And, you got to, pull all your resources together so that you're not spending. I mean, for a business, Instagram's part of the business, but it's not the be all and end all. Like it's just another point of call to get a new client and that's what I see mine as. It's almost like a portfolio for my photography work. Um, I, I used to go out and kind of hustle for, design work, whereas now I post my photography work. I do a bit of typography, bring in all my design skills, and that's gained me work, even just posting that kind of stuff. So it's just like another avenue.
another portfolio.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's fair enough. Any other tips you've got for?
Well, it's tough. I wouldn't lie. You've got to spend a lot of time committed to it. Um, so consistency, posting every day, stories. I mean, showing behind the scenes of day in the life. Like this is what goes behind the scenes in you know our coffee shop, or
Yep.
people like having a bit of a sticky beak, so
I
that
think it depends very much on the type of business you're in. So
yeah,
I'm very pragmatic about this sort of stuff. I talk to people a lot about their social media accounts, and people get very hung up on it. I have a slightly, well, I'm interested in return on investment, and time's an investment.
mm,
So you've also got to factor in, whether it's actually bringing you in
mm,
sales.
that's right.
And if you're putting hours and hours and hours and you're getting nothing,
Mm,
you'd have to question whether it's worth the investment. Then it
yeah,
becomes more about a vanity exercise, and
that's right.
it's more about ego then. So, which is fine as long as you're aware of it, right?
Right.
But if you're running a business, the objective is to have get your brand out there, to make
Mm,
people aware, to generate traffic into the
yeah,
place where you can actually sell your goods and services. So, I'm very conscious of that return on investment, and I've seen this many times when you're looking at people's analytics, and they're putting all this effort into social media, and yes, they're getting likes, but when you look at whether that's generating traffic into their
yeah,
site, it's minimal.
yeah.
So I tend to be sort of, yeah, be aware as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, you could be completely wasting your time. I mean, not, I guess not all businesses need to have social media. Like, is it relevant? It obviously depends on the business, but um, is it going to be a business? I mean, you can have a presence on social media, but whether people are going to follow it is another thing. It might be nice to have, but it's not the be all and end all that.
Yeah, I think you've got to look at your business. You've got to look at what your objectives are as a business and
Mm,
whether it is in fact meeting those objectives.
that's right. I think if you have a product, a physical product, Instagram's perfect. You can have swipe up links. It can go directly to, people can shop immediately. And I think that's really like, if someone's on their phone, they're just going to swipe up, click, pay, it's done. Like it's
Yeah.
instant. That I think that's really good. And now you can do sponsored ads. You can pay to have it seen.
So I think that's the thing. From my point of view, as the guy who goes in and tries to help people get their visibility up on the web, try it, measure it, change it, measure it,
Yeah.
change it, measure it, make decisions, and focus on the areas that are actually generating you
Mm,
income.
yeah, definitely. And it's all just hit and miss a lot of the time. I mean, I sell my
Right.
stationery, but majority of the time, if I post it on my feed, um, it'll get likes, oh, it's a pretty photo, whatever. But if I post it on stories and I put a swipe up link, I'm getting sales.
Oh, that's interesting.
So it's a lot quicker. And it's just that instant swipe up, And I think there's obviously more of a presence now with stories, being that it's at the top of everyone's feed. So I see it as I've got to keep posting something every day, like just so that you're that first little circle someone sees every day. And then you've got to, I guess, create kind of engaging content there as well to keep people tapping through, or else they're just going to swipe to the next person.
I think that's an interesting point. So if you're getting results out of stories for selling product, then people, it's worth trying. Try it and measure it. That's really I think that's the key. You have to measure those results.
Yeah.
Find
And
out
once you've
what
got that business account, I get, what do you got to have now? 10,000 to be able to
something
do the swipe up, which is a bit
crazy.
unfair. But once you've got that business account too, you can go in behind and you can see how many people I'm reaching, how many impressions, and then you can get that gender balance too, and you can see age groups, who's actually viewing my content. And I mean, same as on a website as well, you can kind of
Yep.
get all these analytics, which is super important. I mean, we used to have that kind of data that you could drive that traffic to your site or even on Instagram now, so you can really engage with those, the audience that you want for your business.
Yeah, those insights are really important. I think it's really important to look at those reports,
Yep.
analyze the results, and target based on the results.
I mean, when I apply for jobs, so I've got contacts with PR agencies and brands directly, they want a media kit from me that has a breakdown of who I target, who my Instagram reaches. So I've got something like 75% of female, between ages 18 and 35, I think is my main demographic. And then obviously each image is a different impression. But brands will come and ask for those rates because they want to say, okay, what kind of demographic are you reaching? We've got this product that we want to promote. They want to see return on their investment too. So they're paying you
Absolutely.
both. So they want to know that they're targeting the right audience, as long as you're also accepting the product, knowing that, you're going to tell the truth unless you're willing not to.
Ethical influencing.
Yeah. I'd like to say,
So it's the same. As a business, you are the PR agency for your business. You are you are the influencer within your business. It's just like
yeah.
pressing it all into one. So
Mm.
it's important to know those numbers. And you've clearly demonstrated to me that I am so far out of your demographic.
I've got some other.
Going to have to unfollow you. I'm sorry. Oh dear. But I only comment on the coffee posts. That's pretty much
The important ones, yeah.
it. Yeah. All right. I really appreciate you coming along and having a chat with us today. I'm sure there's probably a million
It could go
things
on
we
forever.
could talk about and go on and on and on about. I hope you'll pop up and join us in the group. I'm not sure if you're there or not, but
I'll try. You
but,
try.
but what I do hope is that people will follow you on Instagram and have a look at what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you've got
Always open
design needs, Carissa's great because she's my
and for all my DMs. So
yeah, absolutely.
I'm happy to no, I get questions all the time about how to take a photo, what equipment I use. So yeah, I'm happy to share any kind of knowledge I've got, happy to help.
Brilliant. I know you are. All right, my friend. Well, thank you very much. We will talk soon.
I'm sure.
I'll get you on the line and I'll stop recording. But once again, I'll put all your links, etc.
That's good.
We have to do this, right? But below this video, so people can have a look at your website and your products and follow you on Instagram. Take care. Thank you.
See ya.